Well, it may not be the final, but I'm sure it's the final for everybody over in the Philippines. And if you're listening to us live, welcome. We hope you're enjoying the coverage, and we hope you're going to enjoy this match between two great Filipinos and two masters of the game of 9-ball pool. And wasn't it great to see the welcome in the crowd from newly converted 9-ball fans in the UK who rise to the occasion to watch these two play. They were so impressed with Reyes a number of years back winning the World Championship here in Cardiff at his first attempt, and here he is making a claim to win once again here.
And I'll just echo my co-commentator's credentials in this game. The year after, Reyes had Steve Davis 8-2 on this table, and Romford Slim came back to 9-8. I echo that point purely to say the amazing dramatic twists this game can take. Old Vic, young Vic, the Vic down the road from you, all eyes should be on this game, because if you want to play this game, watch and learn. Into play with the red 3, just to remind you of the rules. You have to hit the low ball on the table, work through the rest unless there's a plant or a cannon that takes you to the 9 quick. Nicely developed, and look what he's left. Will you try this, SD?
Yes, this is going to be a very quick rack should the 9 go in. It's a great opening start, and you would imagine that Efren Reyes, even though he hasn't got his cue action going yet, should really make this 9-ball.
All right! Rock and roll! That's what can happen! That's the rules, slow ball! But if you've got the brains and the angular knowledge, you can finish it quick and make your opponent sick.
Winner breaks, race to 11. So important to retain that break off.
Francisco Bustamante, again, I didn't use an assumed name when he went to Kiel in Germany a few years ago, but he certainly had some empty pockets hanging out by German pool players. They are wonderful, nice, quiet, gentle people away from the table, but on there they are like anacondas with toothache.
Leading by 1 rack to 0.
The break, a very important part of the game, Steve.
Yes, and Efren Reyes has not as hard a break as Francisco Bustamante, but possibly has more variety of break off. But that is the break off that found me out a couple of times. You make the wing ball, but you can't get that 1 ball to escape from the bottom pocket. So unless you can hit them even harder than this, and that was pretty hard but controlled, this 1 ball does not go in the centre pocket like it did last year. The rack has been moved back to its original position. But you see this 1 ball going to the head cushion. If you don't hit it hard enough, it doesn't come off that back cushion. And
how about that for 1 ball safety? You've got to have the control of a robot to use 1 ball safety like this. They sometimes do a 2 ball safety, 3 ball safety across the table, but to actually work it on a long shot is extremely sophisticated.
The 9 ball cutting off the angle from the back cushion, which could produce a result in perhaps knocking the 8 ball in. So he's got to go off the side cushion, the top of our screen as we look now, and try to somehow get that 1 ball safe.
Game of infinite variety. 1 minute it's the scalpel, the next minute it's a blunt axe. This is a scalpel shot. But that's could be fatal. Talking about scalpels, that's a slip.
Yes, and I think from the angles there, as long as Efren Reyes can impart some left-hand side spin onto the ball, he'll be able to get the cue ball across the table for the blue 2 into the top right pocket.
What's the trouble on this? Watch the precision. He doesn't want to be straight. You never want to be straight in this. You want an angle. Is that sufficient angle, Steve?
Well, he would have liked to have been about a foot further down the table there, because he could have then come through the gap between the 5 and the 9 to get this 3. Now he's got to do a bit more work with the cue ball to retain position. But if there's one person that knows his way around a pool table, it's this man. He's not called the magician for nothing.
Born in the barrios near Manila, Angeles City. when he was 10, he was sleeping underneath his uncle's pool table, and no American would play against him. And he has that lovely slang. Racks a friend. Rail cushion. English, what's that word? That means side spin. Follow means top spin. Duck means to duck and dive. And a carom, which it can be used to pot another ball other than the low ball, is a cannon.
He'll be ducking here as he came up slightly unluckily on the 3 ball, but it was a mistake in positional play. Compounded error of a small positional mistake on the 1 to the 2, and had to rely on a bit of luck for the 2 to the 3, and didn't get it. So
excellent phrase by SD there to encapsulate what happens when you get out of position. This compounded error, that's what happens. You lose position and they just start getting more awkward. Bustamante, genius with a cue, handles it like D'Artagnan.
what a great shot that was. And all of a sudden, oh, that is ridiculous. That is totally ridiculous.
Well, if you think bullfighting's cruel, try this.
Shouldn't happen to a traffic warden, that one. Even if they're only just doing their jobs, of course, it still shouldn't happen. So unlucky.
Because the rule is a ball in hand means the opponent can put the white anywhere he likes.
Reyes, I don't think will be playing the... Well, he obviously didn't, it's gone now. The 5-9 combination. These balls are sitting like soldiers and rolling the green 6 through to the top cushion. Will leave a natural angle to come down the table for an open pocket attempt on the 9.
About 9 months ago, this man won $165,000. That's about 110 pounds English, 110 thou in Tokyo in the Open, and he did help rebuild a village with quite a lot of that money. He's a national hero. This is why.
Well, totally against the run of play, but Efren Reyes 2-0. Join us after the break.
Rhymes with school, but you don't learn it there. World Pool Acerado World Championships here, live and exclusive, Cardiff, Wales, United Kingdom. United Kingdom, all World Pool are here represented in our last stages, 8 players. We have Japanese players, American players, we have a European, but here are 2 of the finest players that will ever grace the planet. 2 brilliant Filipinos, dicing it after a place in the last 8. Efren Reyes, former world champion in this very arena, against Django. As we see his attack on the pack. Steve Davis with me. The aim of the break is to get 1 or 2 down the wing balls, side balls. Think of a turkey at Christmas, wing balls. The 1 goes down quite a lot, but the question is where you leave the white as well.
Yes, and as you noticed that time, Efren Reyes made the 1 ball. Whether he altered his break off to stop that 1 ball going to the bottom cushion. He came up a bit awkward on the 2, and this was very risky, but seems to have paid dividends. And well, the luck going with Reyes at the moment, and it is a game of twists and turns and fortunes that you cannot account for. But as we mentioned before, all of these players still left in the tournament were the winners of their groups, so there may be luck attached, but it's what you make of your luck. Francisco Bustamante jumping. I've never seen a Filipino player jump with a jump cue. It was probably because I don't watch enough pool, but I didn't know any of them did actually possess a jump cue. What a great shot there from...
Absolutely. The idea is to hit it on the drop part of the volley, i.e. it's a Yorker. You want the ball to be on the drop. See how he hits it. There's the 3rd bounce and in. sensational shot.
Three-dimensional pull, and that third dimension is something that very few of the Filipinos do employ, but perhaps because Bustamante lives in Germany, he's followed the tradition of most of the rest of the world in employing a jump cue. Across
Very
the face
clumsy
of that
miss by him.
Cued across the face of that with the cue. If you could see his cue action there, he was not perhaps cueing in a dead straight line with the cue, and he perhaps imparted a bit of right hand spin, which initially pushed the cue ball out to the left, and that caused him to miss the three. But it was a tricky shot, and he hasn't really had any shots.
Yes, in will step the maestro, Efren Reyes Bata. That's the younger. There was another Efren Reyes. I think he made a few bucks as well at the game.
That was a great strike of the cue ball there. He did put some spin on, but it was intentional to send that cue ball around the angles. His only problem now is he's going to have to employ a certain amount of power to draw this 5 ball, or the cue ball, back up the table, bottom and left hand spin. He hit that a bit too hard, and he lost the white ball, and he's a mistake from Reyes. Hit the ball much harder than he wanted, but he needed to make sure he hit it firmly enough. Obviously unfortunate to go into that pocket. It could have gone anywhere, but
if you think of playing this game as well, the Cloth are playing the Minnesota and Leeds with my coach Ian Williamson. The Cloths are like butter and ice. There's no napatol on this, so your control of a deep screw with a bit of power has got to be spot on.
When you mention the Minnesota of Leeds, Ian Williamson, are you suggesting he put a bit of weight on since I last saw him?
Certainly has. Still wheels a mean cue though, and all the kids there in Leeds not playing snooker anymore. He's got about 14-year-olds who now play this game.
Bustamante draws one back after a mistake from Efren Reyes.
Filipino flag's going to be waved one way or another at this one. They're fighting for a place in the last 4 of the World Championship here in Cardiff, as the elegant Michaela Tabb does one of the most important parts of the game. She puts on a frozen rack.
Making sure all of these balls are tightly packed together. You do not want any gaps between the balls, especially the front 6, because if all of those balls are touching each other, the transition of power through the cue ball through the rest of the pack is absolutely perfect.
One has to say there's been very few of the players down looking at the rack this year. It used to take something to go down there for a minute and argue.
Monster break. 2 ball looks to be in as well, which would have helped for him if the 2 ball had stayed out, but the white ball got kicked down the table. The red 3, which is now the lowest ball on the table. As you can see, the 1 into the middle pocket, the 2 getting kicked off 2 balls into the bottom left, and so the lowest ball now on the table, the red 3.
Plant on.
Too risky. But a clever safety. Has he got it perfect? Yes.
Has he ever? I think you can just about see the paint, the dab of paint on this red ball.
What will the magician do? Will he try to stay behind that 9 ball and send the 3 up the table? Well, he may have tried that, but he didn't want to do that.
Rack over. Francisco will jump in here like a rat up a drain pipe, but cool and elegant. Should be his rack now. There's no problem ball. Draws gently to the middle of the table.
Didn't want to be hampered by the 7, but no problem. Spinning the cue ball round off 2 cushions into the open table for the 5.
Heart of the pocket. Don't always have to hit the middle of the pocket. You can use the knuckles to good effect to alter your angle. Coming in again, this draw shot.
No problems here for Bustamante. Has the choice of a soft drawback, or possibly playing with a bit more power to screw off the side cushion with a bit of spin.
left hand side, and it's elementary. This for two apiece.
Bustamante levelling at 2-2, and Efren Reyes had a chance to keep Bustamante off the table. He had a long 5 ball, I think it was the 5, to screw back for the green 6 that was at the bottom of the table, and it was a good screw back. I mean, he really did get hold of this ball. Watch it zip back off there, but he knew as soon as he hit it that he was flirting with that bottom pocket.
Level game then between two legends of the game, and now the American BCA Hall of Fame has been opened to non-American residents. You'd reckon in the passage of years, sooner rather than later, these two will be in it, because they are true colossi of the game.
Well, the wing ball comes down, and look at the action there of Bustamante.
Is this plant worth a dip?
Well, this one ball's come off the knuckle, and he hasn't got a pot on the one ball, so, well, you can make your own minds up what he's going to do here. Does he play the safety, or does he risk the 9? What do you think?
Well, I think there's no change of angle between the yellow 1 and the 9, so can you tell by how much spin he's putting on it? He's coming in very low left.
Never a certainty, but a shot that really Francisco Bustamante felt he had to play. And he can consider himself...
Is there a chop cut possible on this bottom left?
Well, he could have made it a lot easier for Reyes, and Reyes looks like he's ducking and playing safe behind his 3 balls in a line.
There you go.
Wow, that was close to the cushion, to the pocket. Just hit the cushion just before the knuckle. And if you look at these pockets, you'll see there are a definite point on the pocket, as opposed to a snooker table, which is rounded. So as long as you hit outside the point, the ball won't go in. It very rarely goes in at any type of open pocket angle. But if you hit inside the point, it's gulped up by the pocket. That's why shots down the rail are a lot easier than they would be on a snooker table, but sometimes shots in open table play are a little bit more difficult than you would imagine.
So what's the plan for getting to this yellow, and secondly not leaving it on?
Okay, 1 cushion escape off the top cushion is a possibility if he can make sure he doesn't hit that knuckle. Hit the 1 on the right side of the ball, and then perhaps the cue ball could go over there to the side of the table. But remember, the ball must hit a cushion after contacting the 1. That was an excellent shot, but it was not as obvious a way of playing safe from that shot. And obviously Bustamante was trying to play a similar shot and get that 1 ball in behind the 5. Perhaps he couldn't get past that 5 down the short rail, as we mentioned.
Well, the magician, his apprentice could, Sorcerer's apprentice could do this easily. No problem ball at all, yeah. It's race to 11, replacing the last 4. Coming in with bottom spin. And again, all you snooker players watching, you don't want perfect position in this. You want an angle. You want an angle to think 3 or 4 shots ahead, because once you get straight on shots, you've got to do awful things with top or bottom. Not a problem in any of these, Steve.
No. He's got to make sure he doesn't leave the cue ball behind the 6. It was never really a problem at all.
See, according to Isaac Newton, Pippin on the bunts, middle of the table, optimum angles in all directions. Middle of the table again, if you've got the control of the spin and the weight of the shot, You just like, well, dominate the midfield, be a Roy Keane at the game. Hold the ball in the middle of the table. It's easy. Looks easy.
And if you think about it, Sid, there are very few balls that are potable. Very few positions on a table where a ball is not potable if your cue ball is right in the middle of the table.
Applying to science, not kidding. It's not smacking spheroids with a stick. No way this. Reyes, 4-3-2. Gonna smack the cheese, bottom right. Cheese goes down! 3-2 to the magician in this old Filipino clash here in Cardiff. Carisawi Cymru, welcome to Wales, Cardiff to be exact. Hasarada World Pool Championship heating up. Final is tomorrow. With me in the commentary box, Steve Davis. Absolutely eyes gimleted both of us on the dexterity and genius of two of the greats of the game, Efren Reyes and Francisco Bustamante. Efren's into the pack, leads 3-2.
Beautiful position on the 1. More awkward on the 3. As you can see, that blue 2 has gone down.
Yeah, Tiger Woods might be the dominant man in some games. These two Tigers from the Philippines, where they're both national heroes, veritable jungle cats at this game. They could take the skin off a living opponent without blinking. But away from the table, they're nice lads. Francisco ponders his fate. Guess when this bloke's at the table, you get slim pickings. You might just get a few dusty, dried up crumbs. Race to 11. Efren's intent on the task. Could have took the shirt in better, Steve.
Just checking that his sleeve doesn't touch the 6 ball. And a good tip for anybody playing anywhere around the world: play the game properly. Don't get sloppy in practice and play just cue ball fouls, as they're called. You play all the fouls, so if your body touches a ball as well, that gives you good habits around the table and stops you being lazy.
It is an extremely balletic game. When they do address the ball like this, feet splayed, it is almost like a runner getting down on his blocks. It's a very precise position. Precise position is Reyes takes the 4-2 lead over his pal. Chock-a-block here in Cardiff. All the world coming to see the great game of 9-ball pool, fastest growing billiard sport on the planet. An estimated 300 million people watching sometime these pictures.
Upstairs on the mezzanine floor, we have a fascinating match between Johnny Archer and Jing Sheng Yang. I've got that right, yes, Yang. 2-1, I think, to Yang, and that possibly is as mouth-watering a prospect as the match we are watching here. If you want to watch that match now and follow its progress, you can press the red button on your Sky Interactive handset, and then I think choose another option. It will give you an option on pool options and pool active, and you'll be able to press another button and whichever match you feel like. And Jim White and Jerry Forsyth are commentating on that one as we speak.
That's right. It's like having chicken and chips in one place and sausage and mash on the other. Feast on Sky, pool sport today, and tomorrow the final. Why is he hesitating at this point?
Well, he's hooked. He's hooked on the 1. Efren Reyes certainly doesn't use a jump cue, so he's got a problem. The push out, or to kick out.
Didn't seem to have nominated to kick out.
No, because, and the reason why, the push out is a disadvantage, and if you do push out, usually you get the worst of it, because your opponent can choose the situation, whether he wants to play the shot or to put you back in. So, as often happens amongst these top players, if they see they have the possibility of a kick at themselves, even if they are hooked or snookered from that break-off, they will try and keep the initiative.
Right, given the fact that the 9 blocks the way to the pocket, is there any advantage in thinking about the plant?
Yes, he can play a full ball cannon, send the cue ball back down the table. This is a great chance, with a bit of safety as well.
Django whacks down the plant. Pulls back to 4-3. Just look at this. He was up and at it like a linty, fast to the thing, fast to the shot, and fast with the strike. 1-9, boosh.
And I think he was very close to be. I think we can see from this angle, just watch, that he did actually leave the 1 ball more or less snookered and hooked with the pink 4 as well. So he got all departments of that shot right.
Excellent point to make is that they sometimes the power of the shot makes you think they're up and whacking, but there are often other factors in the brain, even though the execution is just instant.
Trailing by 4 racks to 3.
Every shot on the table has an ideal speed to hit the ball at.
And just watch this break. Just watch his leg, his back leg. Colin Jackson over the high hurdles, doesn't lift it faster.
Watch it. Sometimes he gets the back of his head gets a bit sore where he keeps kicking it. He just sometimes hits his back heel on his head too often. He gets a little bit of a mark on there. That's amazing, that is.
Doesn't use a comb to part his hair, put it that way.
The only player in the game who can pull a hamstring playing 9 ball pool. Bustamante, what a break off he's got.
It was once on one of those speed guns, clocked, I think it was in Dallas, at 30.3 miles an hour. And nobody else was hitting more than about 25. Looking good chance here then for Busty to pull it level at 4 apiece. Race to 11 for a place in the last 8.
That was
last
tight.
4 rather.
That was very, very tight. Only had about half a pocket to work with there. Was trying to get inside that jaw. Well, he had a bit more room than I thought actually past that 5, but of course he didn't want to clip the 5 and he sacrificed the table. Still a bit of work for Reyes to do. This will be a clever shot to retain position on the 5. Well, he played to cannon that 7. He would have hoped to have cannoned the 7 more fully than that. As it was, he clipped the side of it, lost control of the cue ball, and now has a straightforward pot.
The most amazing fact I can tell you about this man is when an American magazine interviewed him about 3 years ago, he said that some of his shots were played by the daftest guys in the pool hall, and he logged them into the matrix of his amazing sporting brain. He watched idiots try daft shots for fun, and if he saw a bit of positive in it, he logged it. He just watched what was in the guy's mind, and he has the execution powers to do some shots that sometimes look silly unless you are a genius.
Well, that's nice to know for any of the idiots who play the game in the Philippines that they've helped. So they've helped Efren Reyes. I mean, would it be something you'd boast about? I actually coach Efren Reyes.
That's right. The stories are being told as they watch this.
He sees the shots I play, and then they're obviously not deliberate. Oh,
well,
bit of body movement there on the shot.
Obviously picked up more than good shots from the idiots. Here he goes then, for level.
Bit too much body movement there, trying to steer the cue ball across the table. And after such a good pot earlier on in the rack, he's undone the work. And this looks like 4-4, as you would expect.
And winner breaks, so Busty could step in and reel a few together. The history of this championship, once Chang of Taipei, Chinese Taipei, ran 9 on Johnny Archer. Mika Eminem ran 6, trying to run 7 on Kim Davenport. So runs of 5 and upwards. I wouldn't say everyday stuff, but very possible here. Okay, 4 apiece. Game on here in Cardiff between the Filipino maestros.
Not a certainty, this shot. Just caught outside that point of the pocket. As you can see, the jaws there wobbling, but not going in. I wonder what's going through his mind at the moment.
Rack 9, Bustamante to break, 4 racks each.
Reyes has had the chances to forge ahead in this match. And as it is, Bustamante has advantage. Well, a wing ball down.
Oh, but that last half roll on the green stopped what would have been a perler.
Tremendous control of the cue ball. Planting it in the middle of the table. But nobody can predict the outcome of the balls flying around the table. Nobody has yet done it to perfection every day of their career at very least. And as Reyes kicked out instead of playing a push out last time round in a situation like this, there is absolutely no way that Bustamante will kick out from here. A push out has been called, and Bustamante has now to pick a place on the table. And I'll tell you what he's done there. He's left a snooker on Reyes, and he's going to play the jump shot straight afterwards. Reyes does not play the jump shot. He's just let him play. Just give him the thumb across there. Go on, get on with it. If you fancy a jump shot, get on with it, mate. If you want to jump the ball, it's up to you.
And if he gets it, it'll be the Filipino equivalent of going jump in the lake. Now here we go. There's the short jump cue. Here's Francis stabbing down.
He looks to be cueing on the left of this, but he does cue across. Well, that was...
Well shot.
One for the lads in the slips.
That was a true jump shot. Just making sure that the ball didn't get any damage from the metal floor here. Jumped over 2 balls and jumped over the chalk, jumped over Efren's foot, jumped over everything, and Efren won't be jumping over this one to get to the 9. He'll be using the 1 straight onto the 9. The easiest peasiest of wins in this rack.
The Filipino equivalent of yardy yardy yardy. Clever clogs. Have a bit of that. Busty tries the jump. Efren has the last laugh there. He leads 5-4. Well, in the world of sword fighting, occasionally D'Artagnan busts his sword. Francisco Bustamante went for the jump shot, and it can't sometimes go very wrong. Watch this. It was meant to put the 1 and ended up halfway to Newport.
Well, that ball took a bit of a battering on that metallic floor there, and Efren Reyes put Bustamante in knowing he wasn't going to play the jump shot, and then made the 9 as easy as that. And in that instance, Efren Reyes was the beneficiary of the jump shot, so with using the jump cue. Bustamante is 1-1 with jumping the ball successfully in this particular match. But I wonder if anybody, Jim's had the statistical analysis done of how effective the jump shot is. How often, when you are hooked, you actually use it to your advantage rather than to your disadvantage in comparison to the kick out. And I'm sure there are many people that are much in love with the game that have tried to analyse things like that. And perhaps somewhere around the room there's somebody who has the evidence as to which is the best way.
Would be glad to know. So take it for your anorak and contact us as Efren works out. Well, is there a shot here?
Yeah, the jump shot. No, you can clip the one here and try and miss the green 6, bringing the cue ball down into a safe area. Bit thicker than he would have liked. Perhaps not. Sorry about that, Efren.
Well, slap your knees,
Yeah,
Steve
sorry,
Davis.
sorry.
Question in the maestro.
Apologies. I'll blame the fact I couldn't see the whole table from that angle. Marvellous shot there from Efren Reyes, flirting a little bit with that corner pocket. Once again, asking the question to Bustamante: get your break, get your jump cue out. We have a lot of interest in this match around the world, and obviously plenty of people logging on who can't watch it live on worldpoolchampionship.com. I'm sure there's got to be an anorak on there somewhere who's got the information. Oh my God, he's gone 2-1. What a shot that was!
Oh well, shot of the tournament, definitely one of the top 3 we've seen. Just look at this.
I'm going out and buying one of them. Where'd you get them? I want one of those. I want a Bustamante jump cue tomorrow.
Fantastic shot by the maestro. Oh yes, heart of the pocket.
One of the shots of the tournament, and you can imagine if that was in the last rack, that would have been one of the mega shots ever played in the game.
Didn't that bloke Sam Davis do a very good shot length of the table, hit the black pot the 9 the other night, that Davis bloke?
Sammy Davis Jr., Sam Davis. Well, yeah, but that was a skillful shot and played for Bustamante, and immediately puts. Oh, get stuck into that, mate. Yes. Oh, dropped a bit. Shh, don't eat loudly. You know what happened earlier in the he's going for another bit.
Yes, a bit of side on that, a bit of right-hand side.
Now, why?
He's got it!
Why go for that bit when he could have gone for the outside bit? If I could just illustrate that. He could have gone with the outside bit and got less chocolate on the side of his mouth. Reyes swerving off 2 cushions, perhaps even 1, to try and contain this situation. He could be in trouble here, though. I think he's going to be, other than the fact that it's going to be very, very awkward queuing for Francisco Bustamante. Bustamante's going to get the step ladders out here to get enough backspin on this.
Archer dishing out a bit of in a bit of trouble there. Chow. Archer 4-1 down on the mezzanine against Yang.
Oh, he can just get by it without having to jack his cue up in the air. He's going to be rammed up behind this 7 ball and the 8.
Race to 11, I'll remind you. And this could be very, very tight in the later stages.
2 choices for Reyes: the 2 cushion escape round the back of the 9, or the 1 cushion escape.
Step in, Busty.
Yes, but not as easy to step in as you would initially think. That 5 ball has made this 2 missable. And also the positional side of the shot is very difficult as well.
Yeah, he could sling the white, having hits a thin. Well, no trouble then. Sweet on the red.
He made that look very easy. He's not ideally placed on the 3. Cue ball will be going away from the orange 5, and if at any time you're confused as to the order of the balls, just check along the bottom of the screen. Most of the time we show which balls are left remaining on the table and which balls and the order of which they have to be potted in. This is a straightforward sequence we've seen many times before.
And always remember, you are allowed to billard or to plant from the low ball to a different ball. Say the 6 is on the pocket and you're on the 1, you're going to roll up and knock it in. And if the 9's looking adjacent, you can whack the low ball into the 9.
Bit of a dodgy shot there by Bustamante, getting a bit of unwanted spin on the ball. It's made the cue ball stay closer to the cushion than he wanted, but a great recovery.
And a great bit of English to make this angle perfect for a little old dink out from the cush. Stop shot needed here, 5 apiece.
And unlike a couple of the matches yesterday that tended to drag on for ages, this match is motoring through. 5-5. Bustamante pulls it back. You wouldn't bet against this game going all the way. A race to 11. Who's going to get there first?
300 million people will see their live or recorded this stuff, and the chock-a-block here at the Cardiff International Arena. And why not when two legends of the game are locking sticks?
It's very hard to explain, perhaps to the UK audience, how popular this game is in the Far East especially. We've mentioned the fact that, you know, in a way, I mean, obviously they have other sports they watch and everybody likes soccer, but in a way it's the national game, and this is being shown everywhere across the Philippines. These two are heroes, they're gods in the country.
Yeah, if you drew a line from around about northern Australia down to the bottom of Thailand, this is the game played by millions and millions, all ages.
Leave a few balls on the table, Francisco.
Absolute slaughterous break.
I wonder what the most balls potted off the break at 9-ball is. What's the record?
Absolutely brilliant match this. Steve Davis's commentary is spot on so far with the use of the jump cue. Have you got one yourself?
I'm getting one.
Have you used one?
I'm getting one tomorrow, mate. I am. I'm going to get one. Quality strike there once again from Bustamante. He does have a lovely touch. He can hit the balls as hard as he likes, but he has a very floaty style for many of the shots in open play, and he really does caress the balls into the pocket.
1 minute it's talcum powder, the next minute buckshot.
Look at that wrist action. Very much a flick of the wrist.
And if you watch the cue, it wiggles around.
Oh, it looks like
look at that, and then suddenly when it comes through the ball, it is absolutely a pure straight strike.
Well, when Bustamante's queuing up, he looks like he's stirring up custard. He really does. On the preliminary things, if you get behind, if you see him from behind, it looks like it's all over the place. But that final delivery is beautiful.
Steve Davis waxing lyrical about the talents of this man. He leads 6-5 against Reyes. All Filipino clash, living up to expectations. Well, Francisco Bustamante, Player of the Year on the Camel Tour, genius of the game, has to be world champion sometime, you'd have thought. Picks up lots of money and lots, as Steve just said, national hero in the Philippines, coming in with this amazing coordinated break from exactly the same spot on the head string.
Bustamante to break.
And I don't know, I think the quick average, I've no stato, he's been averaging about 3.5 balls per break.
Which is very difficult to get 3.5 balls in. One in. Two's the ball you got to keep your eye on. That's the lowest ball on the table.
It seems to be dollied over the middle bag.
Yes, you would have liked it a fraction further up. Just a fraction would have made it a little bit easier to get up the table for the 3. As it is, there is much work to do to get nicely on this 3. And perhaps he may play round the back of the 6, or perhaps he can play a straightforward screw up and down the table. Very hard to see from this position on the table. Checked it up with an immense amount of left-hand spin, and he's got the spin on, and that's a great shot. Just watch that cue ball spin and check up off this cushion.
Just watch the angle. The angle is now checked The angle should have taken it just near and past the orange, but he checked the angle beautifully for this superb position on the red.
He's got the 4 past the 8 into the corner, should he so wish. Or of course, if he could get enough side spin and back spin, he could try and play in line for the 4 into the top pocket on our television screen. But this, once again, is not certain. Now, does he go round the back of the 6, and where he's looking now for open table play? Pot the red 3 with left-hand English round the back of the 6 into open table play, or just straight up and down the table past the 6 in between the 9.
If you're hard of thinking, the jargon is that what Steve refers to as English is called side spin in most billiard halls. The Americans tend to describe the action rather than what you apply. So top spin produces follow, bottom spin produces draw back.
And side spin is called English. I haven't got a clue why.
So, do you like the angle he's got to dolly onto the black?
I love the angle he's got, and I also like the way he's taken the match from Efren Reyes. He hasn't had a shot really at the table recently, Efren, and the last time I can remember him coming to the table really was when he decided to play the kick out instead of the push out. There may have been other shots, but that's the one that sticks in my mind. The kick out that didn't go right, and from then on it's been Bustamante, and for the first time in this match Bustamante is forging ahead 7-5. Very quickly this match has tramped on, a race to 11. Bustamante looking cool, calm and collected, and at the moment you must say the likely winner of this match.
And there is a very, very happy and proud man. Can't pronounce his name, but he's the manager of the Philippines
Fred.
pool team. Yeah, well, Fred's very happy. Eating Welsh chips and watching 2 chips off the old pool block play here. 2 of his lads, Efren Reyes and Francisco Bustamante, entertaining the world with their magic on the blue base. My dad took me to a billiard hall when I was 12 in the village of Linemouth in Northumberland, and he showed me a few shots, and could never get control over distance. Took the darts, could never get control over distance, so settled for dominoes.
Then there was those 5s and the 3s. They all seem to get mixed up with your eyesight, Sid. Perhaps it was the eyes. Oh, well, the last thing any pool player wants to do is present Efren Reyes with control of the table. He's been frozen out for a while. Perhaps the adverts came to the rescue of Efren there. A little bit of a lull in the proceedings. Both players went out for a natural break. And left-handed, Reyes strokes this in. Got to get the speed of the shot right. And that's not right. And that is where sometimes switching hands, certainly from a snooker perspective, causes perhaps not inaccuracies in the pot, but in actual weight of delivery. And Efren, I've seen on many occasions play left-handed, as do many of the pool players, and they play the shots marvellously well, but sometimes when you just need to get the weight right, and that was, what a recovery. Great control of the cue ball there, maximum backspin, but minimum speed on the shot to kill the pace of the cue ball, to bring it across the table for ideal position on the 4.
There you go. Can afford to go in the cush surely if he wants for a position here, because it'll hug. Velcro like cushions here. And you see, being straight on this doesn't worry him, because the angles involved in the green 6. and the 7. See, nothing to do at all. No need to use any kind of spin here.
He's made this a little bit more difficult, the whole clearance, than he really needed to, but once again, as we've mentioned before, keeping this cue ball into open table play gives himself chances to make the balls. He's got to be careful of that sleeve on the touching the 9. Another solid strike of the cue ball.
Simple back and forth shot, leaving a less than half ball hit on the 9 for 7-6.
He's a bit upset with himself. He's just a bit upset with himself how difficult he's made this clearance, and he's given himself a chance at the 9. Obviously he'll probably make this, but I mean it's perhaps missable, but I doubt it very much. But just a little bit of perhaps tension in the arm meant that he didn't make that clearance as easy as it could have been, but more importantly he got the clearance, and that's a sign of a great champion. Somebody able to play very well, playing his B game. I wouldn't say he's played badly today at all, that's not the case, but the magician, and obviously one of the greatest artists of making a cue ball talk around the table, doesn't want to be striking the balls too firmly all the time, likes to stroke them around.
Yes, going to join the greats in the American Hall of Fame, William Asconi, around 5-2-6, straight pool. Springfield,
Rack
Hoppy,
14, Reyes to break,
Minnesota
determined by
Fats,
6 racks to 7.
Efren Reyes. They all roll off the tongue together. Genius.
And a recent inductee into the Hall of Fame, Jim Rempe, King James, only just got into the Hall of Fame. What are the Americans thinking about not getting him in? He, from day one of the great pool players of our generation. What a strange position to come up in for Efren Reyes. The push out, that's all he could do. Very quickly made his mind up there on the push out, and you know, every time I get a push out I have to stop and you can see the cogs ticking over in my brain as to where to put it. But of course, you know, if you're playing 9-ball every day of your career, you know automatically where the best place is to put it, where the safety options are, where the safe areas on the table are. And of course, after the break-off shot, once again to reiterate, after the break-off, whether you make a ball or not, the next player at the table, whether it be the guy who made the break-off or the next person coming to the table, can opt to play a push-out, which means he just hits a ball. A ball could go in, but he doesn't have another shot afterwards, and then all of a sudden the opposing player comes to the table and can either play the shot himself or put his opponent back in again. And in this instance, Bustamante doesn't like it and thinks that Efren Reyes can't lay a hook on him.
You could lay a hook on Moby Dick, I reckon, this guy. Ooh, hit the knuckle. Steve mentioned these are not beveled, these are points, and if you hit the point, tough potatoes.
What a big shot coming up for Bustamante now. He can see this blue too. As you can see from the bottom of your screen, the 3's gone, the 4 is next. Big shot. Probably will play positively with backspin. Should this go in, and he keeps position on the 4. Spun the ball in, twisted the blue 2 in with left hand spin.
Yeah, because you play a shot like this, the incoming spin can throw the ball, change its angle.
Take a look at this. He's messed it up, that's what he's done. He got a bad contact on that. It wasn't the fact that he was playing what looked like an unorthodox shot. That's something that Bustamante does a lot. He actually got a kick on that shot, which didn't make him miss the pot, but widened the angle so that he contacted the brown 7. As you can see there, the angle of the cue ball completely destroyed, and he's left with a nightmare of a shot on the 5.
Race to 11. Very little in it at the moment, and Can he take the orange onto the brown? Even him? He nearly cut it.
The twists and turns of 9-ball pool. So difficult to knock that 5 in and hit it thin enough. And once again, advantage to Reyes in this rack. And once again, the possibilities that we'll be locked at 7-7.
And once again, a good little angle, I think. And I'm not sure he's got the angle for the back and forth shot. May just have to. He runs the angles, decides to top it through. You can more or less get the same position by draw as you can with topspin.
You'll see a hell of a lot of right-hand side spin on this shot.
Yeah, beautiful use of the running side to open the angles out, and nothing to do to get sweet as a watermelon on the 9.
You notice the top players like to use these angles to great effect. Reyes 7-7, hasn't done much wrong in this game, and he's still in with a great chance. Who will crack first?
Playing for place in the last 4 of the World Championships here in Cardiff, and what would you expect from these two? A lock game, 7 apiece. It could hang on a moment of genius or a moment of madness.
I wonder if that young lad's finished his chocolate bar yet. One person who needs a bit of a break is Johnny Archer, who's struggling upstairs on the mezzanine table. You can watch that match if you feel the need to. Archer's 6-2 behind against Ching Sheng Yang. And Sheng Yang at the table
Rack 15, Reyes to
is a
break
very
at
cool,
7
calm,
Raxi.
collected player. I can lay testament to that. He really does know what he's doing around a table.
Well, his mentor Chow is called the Cold Face Killer. He's called the Dark Eyed Destroyer. Great talent.
The Scorpion's got to do something to get back in that match. Reyes frustrated with the break. Not as much leg kick there. And that 1, once again, if the 1 isn't going in the pocket for Reyes, it is making its way to that head cushion, as it's known in head string cushion, as it's known in 9-ball pool. The bottom of the table for snooker players, the top of the table apparently for pool players.
Strickland against Takahashi. World champions both. Archer having a bit of a drubbing from Yang.
The long
Schmack
back.
takes on Okamura. Later.
The long bank from Reyes, and an important bank from Reyes. He knew he had to play that aggressively. Never touched the sides. Well, nearly never. What a great shot. Sometimes a shot like that can turn the match. Reyes has done that on many occasions. I remember a marvellous bank he played against Jimmy White to knock Jimmy White out in the match 9-8 a couple of years back in this very tournament, when Reyes was in all sorts of trouble. He produced a bank and looking like 8-7 to Reyes. What a fascinating match this is. You know, it's over so quickly. I mean, they're playing at roughly twice the speed of racks as the table upstairs, which is obviously a much more considered match. You never can tell how the balls go. If they go in awkward positions, you get slower racks. But these two players have played in open table play more or less to perfection.
Well, that's a great tribute. I think the whole thing is that, again, going on with genius and madness and the mad shots. The shots that they can conceive are probably in a broader spectrum or band of knowledge or imagination than anybody else's. The Filipinos take a kick as for granted. They take bank shots for granted. They take jump shots, as we've seen, part of reference. There is a lot of imagination in every circumstance, hence a quick game. So Efren gets the drop, 8-7 at the moment, but that could swing.
Upsetting for these two lads in the front row we're looking at there, the fact that they have had a terrible trick played on them. Somebody actually super glued the Filipino flag to their hands. So when they do applaud, you'll find that the flag comes up in the air. There it is, look. See? It takes a while for that glue to actually sort of corrode, so they'll be there for a couple more days yet.
Right, have a look at this. Try playing that down your Working Men's Club or Institute or Snooker Club tonight.
By 8 racks to 7.
Thanks for the memory, Efren.
Playing for that beautiful trophy. Oh, what an unlucky break. How did that cue ball get up in that pocket? Just have a look. Every rack of 9 ball is a different split. How did the cue ball make its way into that pocket? How unlucky is that? And that probably equals the bad luck that Francisco had in rack 2 when he was so unfortunate in scratching. But at this critical stage of the match, obviously the mistakes and the bad luck become magnified.
Here we go then. Don't see any problems other than that the brown's a bit adjacent to the pink, so there's limited angles and attack there.
Yes, I wondered there whether Francisco Bustamante could have knocked that brown into the pink away from the pocket, but obviously it must pot quite easily past the brown 7 into open play once again. The only problem where the 4 is that he has less options to get back on the 5.
Can he develop the situation with the cue ball here?
Well, he can definitely make the 4, but it's what he can. I think he's obviously going to be cannoning into the 7. He may play a draw shot, try and bump the 7 out of the way and put some right hand spin on the cue ball. The only thing that would ruin that would be some sort of line-up of the 7 on the 5. He got round the back of it. No need to get any closer to the 5 than that. Confident play by Bustamante at a time when confidence is needed. It's around this time in the match that the nerves start to increase. Just didn't like the bridging position of his hand there. He's awkwardly placed on the cushion. Very strong bridge though, strong fingers.
Well, Earl reckons, talking about that bridge, Earl Strickland told me that the Brits, when he saw them first time about 5 years ago to Muscovy, you have to learn the loop bridge to get maximum effect, he said. Do you agree? Must you use the loop bridge 90% of the time?
Well, the loop bridge is strange, you know. From a potting perspective, you want to sight down the cue. So if you use the open bridge, as Francisco Bustamante has used there, you can sight the shot easier. So obviously from a potting perspective, as snooker players are only potting machines, so to speak, that the open bridge is important. But for feel and touch and control of a large ball, the loop bridge is also a very important weapon. A variety of bridges used by Francisco in bridging the gap to come back to 8-all.
Game on! Marfield, superb entertainment here on Sky Sports at Cardiff, the World Pool Championships. You couldn't want to see a better game. It's fast. It's fast not because they're reckless, it's because they're geniuses. It's fast because they see the shot and their executive powers or their executional powers are in no doubt at all. Not one glimmer of self-doubt in any of the shots attempted here, even when they go horribly wrong.
Yes, well, I mean, that's outrageous. I mean, to be showing that, what is that, Sid? Is that some sort of Geordie slang?
Dingle Iloliu. No, I think he used to have a billiard hall at Pontypridd. He's an Italian guy.
He spelled oil wrong twice there. He's got the order wrong there. Bustamante at the table doesn't want to break off like last time. That was much better. Bustamante retains control of the table. Once again, that back heel completely coming up to the floor, and actually Bustamante could very well get a sponsored logo on his sole of that foot. It's in show quite a lot. Frank Bruno's the other person I know that can have one of those.
That's right. Maybe a soul food store.
And of course, coming up on the match table, I think afterwards, I must apologise if I've got it wrong, Earl Strickland. Earl the Pearl Strickland in action this afternoon against Takahashi from Japan. And of course, if you were watching yesterday, Earl changed shoes halfway through his match because he was getting the wrong grip on that floor, and he changed from his pair of shoes to a pair of training shoes with a rubber sole. So I assume that he'll be playing and continuing with those same sneakers on.
But Earl's no show in for that one. Be a tight match. Buster here then. Looking good for 9-8 in a race to 11. Heart of the pockets.
Somewhere down the line there's going to be a critical point in this match where the balls don't go in open play and a big decision has got to be made and a big rack is won. It hasn't happened yet. It would be unlikely if the whole match was played without that most critical moment, but at the moment in open play Bustamante is very much on course. He retains the break off and Efren Reyes has to sit and hope that Bustamante can't bring it back to 10-8.
And that would put him on the hill, needing one more rack.
Yang.
Again, unique Sky Sports view from our Jimmy Jib camera of this fantastic crucible-like ambience. It's everybody's eyes are focused on that blue base.
Plenty of people up on the mezzanine floor now watching in the seats above, and Yang's got Archer in all sorts of trouble. 9-2. That match obviously played at a slower pace than this, but you never know, it could be over quicker.
Yang, one of the young men, he's 24 years of age and is the best player in Chinese Taipei, and that is a tough school, Chinese Taipei.
What a marvellous break. Look at the control on that cue ball. Hit dead centre on the one, top spin, whipping the ball back to the middle of the table. You can't ask for a better break than that. He's got to be careful he doesn't lose the one over the pocket and send it along the top rail. Oh, that was magnificent as well. Knew exactly what was going to happen. Every reason to believe that Bustamante goes 2 racks in front with 3 to play. It's been a marvellous match, but possibly not the match that Reyes would be hoping for. I think Reyes would excel in a match where clever shots were needed. In open play, perhaps Bustamante the better player. We just, we're talking about fractions.
Well, we've been talking about him ever since he hit the American tour about 12 years ago as a future world champion. Bustamante, he was 1998 Player of the Year. 1998 he was #1 on the Camel Tour in the World Championship here. He got to the semi-final when Efren won it.
Ooh. Just sneaked in. Perhaps a little bit of nerves and tensions coming into that shot, but he did play the ball at the right speed, gave it every chance of dying into the pocket, and all of a sudden Bustamante once again in perfect position. And also thinking back along the match, that jump shot, the third jump shot that Bustamante played, how important has that been in the match? He was in all sorts of trouble there until he cut
here
that ball
we go
in.
And 2 cushions to make this. He could do this standing up in the dark in a hammock. Well, we come to what the French call a pis-aller. The last throw, possibly. Bustamante's on the hill and could swoop in and leave Efren chair-bound.
A very important break-off. Rack in progress now. Bustamante employing the jump shot to great effect. He was in all sorts of trouble, but what about that for a shot? As we mentioned at the time, if that was a last rack jump, we'd have all been raving about it. But looking back, it was still vitally important.
Leading by 10 racks to 8.
I think he went ahead and won that rack.
Here we go then.
Great break, got a bit of action on the one he didn't want, on the cue ball he didn't want.
Oh, but look how the one has landed. Game over, you'd reckon.
Very much. Monstrous break again from Bustamante. Didn't like what happened to the cue ball. It got a massive kick off the green 6.
Well, parallel on the mezzanine. Yang is in a rack that will take out Johnny Archer, former world champion, as Buster tries to sink another former world champion, Efren Reyes.
Well, I expected or hoped that Johnny Archer would put up a great show this year. I think he's one of the greats of the game. But such are the vagaries of 9-ball pool, you can just have a bad day. If Johnny Archer were to go out, that would leave just Earl the Pearl Strickland as the American hope. And after his last match, and he needs to up the pace to beat what we're seeing on offer here on this table between Bustamante and Reyes. Bustamante's so close and looks very cool and very collected. And you wouldn't bet against him missing any of these last 3 balls. It looks like Bustamante through to the semi-finals this evening.
Trickles the green in. Sweet as you would like. Sweet as you'd like on this black. Just got to work it into the cush. Game over. Francisco Bustamante sinks the hopes of the former champ Efren Reyes. We have mentioned his bereavement. He decided to play on, and he continues, fittingly framed by the Filipino flag. Francisco Bustamante goes to the last 4. Wins against his great friend Efren Reyes. Maybe 1 point was Reyes does not do jump cue shots. Francie produced some beauties. He's in great stroke.